Now, 8 days into the U.S. government shutdown, Republicans and Democrats are still playing a dangerous game of which side will blink first. And you can sense some eyes rolling around the U.S. and the world as people are fed up with the stalemate. Sean Callebs joins me here in the studio. And Sean, people are getting quite panicky over this.
Well, I don't know about panicky, but they're certainly frustrated, and we've also seen the way it's given them the U.S. markets jitters, and we know it's going to have that ripple effect around the world. While that is one thing that has certainly been frustrating the United States, and we heard President Obama come out today basically say he was going to offer up an olive branch to a degree to the GOP, the Republican Party, but he's also talking about lost opportunities. Here's what he had to say when he held a very hastily called news conference earlier today. In a hastily called news conference, President Obama says he's willing to negotiate with Republicans, but only if the Republicans stop digging in their heels. Obama says he will not hold talks under the threat of shutting down the U.S. government and threatening to default on the national debt.
Think about it this way. The American people do not get to demand a ransom for doing their jobs. You don't get a chance to call your bank and say, I'm not going to pay my mortgage this month unless you throw in a new car and an Xbox.
The president, for the first time, is saying he is willing to negotiate with Republicans in exchange for a short-term extension of the debt ceiling and money to keep the government up and running. Republicans say if that is Obama's version of extending an olive branch, forget it.
What the president said today was, if there's unconditional surrender by Republicans, he'll sit down and talk to us. That's not the way our government works.
As bad as the government shutdown is for the U.S., its workers, and its economy, the threat of the U.S. defaulting on its debts dwarfs those concerns. U.S. financial markets have been tanking. Obama says he is stunned that some Republican lawmakers are toying with the idea of defaulting.
A decision to actually go through with it, to actually permit default, according to many CEOs and economists, would be, and I'm quoting here, insane, catastrophic, chaos. These are some of the more polite words.
The International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, is holding its annual meeting in the shadow of the White House. Considering the IMF focuses on threats to the global economy, it is impossible not to discuss the growing U.S. crisis.
If we get to a point where the debt ceiling is not being raised and the U.S. Treasury defaults on U.S. obligations, then this could have not only very serious consequences for the U.S. economy, but also for the world as a whole. Because either financial markets will lose confidence, it's not either, they will lose confidence, and at the same time there may have to be large cutbacks in government spending, which will lead to a loss of confidence of American consumers. And this will have very large and serious consequences for the rest of the world.
President Obama says you can also chalk up lost opportunities to the government shutdown. Obama skipped the APEC summit because of budget and debt tensions, and many Asian leaders had hoped the APEC gathering would end with a glowing announcement about trade deals that include the U.S. push for the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Well, now those same leaders say the deal may be fizzling, chiefly, Phil, because Obama was not there to push it.
This is such a frustrating situation. We can't take care of issues at home. Ports are being affected, businesses being affected, government workers are being affected, and this is also not limited to the U.S. It's also affecting other countries as well, and not just practically, but also how they view us longer term.
Yeah, without question. I think that you've seen that, and we saw it yesterday. First, the first Chinese leaders, economic leaders came out and talked about the U.S. must take care of its financial matters at home and do it now. Today, we heard leaders in Japan say it. Any time that the U.S. drags on about something like this, and just the fact that President Obama talked about some Republican leaders toying with the idea of defaulting, Warren Buffett, the investing guru, came out today and said it's like a nuclear weapon. It's something you never want to use. If the U.S. does that, and if any congressional lawmakers think in any way this can be good for the U.S., they are sadly fooling themselves. You talk about what happened in 2008, that would look like a walk in the park compared to what would happen if we would default on purpose to make a point.
We're going to send you to Capitol Hill. Maybe you can talk to those lawmakers. Sean Callebs, thank you very much.